So, welcome to another episode of The Best Part of Your Day with Devin and Taye. Today, we are interviewing Devin's personal therapist. May is mental Health Awareness Month, and so we want to sit down and highlight a few different aspects of mental health awareness, specifically with growth. Danielle, would you please like to introduce yourself to the people?
Yes, I am Danielle. I am a mental health counselor at a university. Have a lot of different hobbies. I love interacting with nature. Anything holistic and urban, I'm there. I don't know what else there is to know about me.
All right.
So, what are common obstacles that stand in our way as like young adults that we have to overcome in order to really like reach our full potential?
The idea of dealing with other people's opinions.
Oof.
That is a big one.
Yeah.
That is a big one. Just because we have this expectation of what's considered acceptable and unacceptable, and then we've been so shaped mentally to know that there's black and white, good or bad. Like there's so much room for gray. And it's like we constantly put ourselves on these paths, one or the other, you know, instead of looking at the whole thing as an open valley.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I've definitely noticed. Like I find myself constantly questioning. That's why some things I definitely don't believe in, because it goes as far as to say like a first impression. We gotta work really hard to have that first impression. But a first impression is really an initial judgment. So we're teaching people how to judge at very young ages, as if a first impression completely identifies how good or bad a person is.
Yeah.
As if you can't practice it and manipulate it and maneuver it. It's weird to me. Like that part is really weird to me, but I do believe like comparing ourselves to others and then wanting to be what they perceive us is acceptable.
I would say, because I remember when I first like came to you, that area, like that gray area was one of the biggest things that I had to like work to overcome in order to like start growing and developing more as like just an adult. And so you saying that now, I was like, yeah, like everyone needs to just go through and work on that and like think about it, because it changed my whole perspective on life for real.
Yes.
Do you think that I guess we're living in this like information age where everything is on the internet,
Absolutely.
You know, and social media is huge, right?
Yes.
Media has always impacted how society forms, but like social media is, because it's instant, you know what I'm saying? Do you think that social media has kind of enabled a groupthink type of mentality where it's like, well, if my friends say it this way, I don't have to think for myself to make this decision. I can just go based off what they say.
Absolutely. Because it's easier.
Yeah.
It's easier. Now I think we're in a stage where that part of it is splitting off to where more people are wanting to know more, and they're no longer staying on the surface of things or going like a little bit deep. Most of the time now, people are willing to take a step out and be different and live their truth.
Yeah.
So I think social media is actually taking a drastic turn with like uses of TikTok. I think TikTok is probably one of the better platforms that allows people to just truly be themselves. Now, granted, there are people out there that are doing what they're doing, but you see a lot more authenticity,
right?
Which helps people move past and move to those places where they're like, okay, you have 40,000 people agree with you or like this message. If I really agree with you and I identify with you, that's 40,000 other people. So then you don't necessarily feel alone, but that's, again, you have to work to get in that place to see those types of videos. So I mean, it's a double-edged sword, and it really depends on which way you take it. Like, what are you scrolling? What are you looking for? What's going through your mindset? Where you are that day, you know? So many things can attribute to getting instant information that can be positive or negative to your growth.
Wow. And you hit on something. We said the authenticity. That automatically made me think about growth. So what do you think authenticity has to do with, like, is there a correlation with authenticity and growth?
Good question. Yeah, absolutely. Because for so long, many of us have been pretty much structured in a path of what's right and what's wrong. And that's lost with authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times creativity and imagination, that's lost. I don't want to necessarily go too far down the road, but there was some. You always amp me up.
Got
your
to.
truth.
Yes, I said we want to hear you.
All right, just go with me here.
Okay.
When you have billionaires like your J.F. Rockefellers that say, "I want a country of workers, not thinkers," that challenges how people are now groomed through education, through their living situations, through the media. That changes that, and because of how they want people to be in place and doing to give back to a society that's going to make us so economically rich and sustainable, you have to lose authenticity. You have to lose thinkers.
Man.
You have to, because that means they would challenge the status quo. They would challenge the ideals that are considered acceptable. They would challenge that.
Yeah.
Growth is not. Growth looks a lot of different ways.
Right.
But when you take a step back and you look at it overall, you'll recognize that we're in such a society that authenticity is just is you gotta fight for it. You gotta fight for it. You gotta fight for it. That's all I can really like push out there, because it's definitely connected to growth in every way, which is the reason you gotta fight for it, because you gotta fight for both of those things. They're not just gonna be given to you.
Yeah. Why do people just want to stay stagnant?
As much as I believe for some people that's a choice, for other people it's not. For some people it's situation, it's circumstance, opportunities that are either gained and or missed. Sometimes stagnation comes through mental health issues. Sometimes stagnation comes through issues trying to fight what people have condemned you for.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of different reasons, and I kind of used to think like that, but no, there are some definite people that just choose to be like that. Let's stay there. But it's just so many different reasons. Like if I was gonna give a reason to that, it would be sometimes people don't have people to push them, to show them, to guide them. So what they see is acceptable. That might be them growing. That might be what they think the pinnacle of life is. That might be it, as opposed to what you're viewing it like, yo, you're okay with just that. And for them, they might think that that's the best that they could possibly do. Other people don't want to put in the work. You know, work is hard.
It is, yeah.
Work is daunting. Work is stressful. Work is especially in this day and age where you're very often not recognized. You're very often overlooked, taken for granted, taken advantage of, paid very little, work more time. And people don't want to do that. For what? And then just to take it to this level of sometimes, none of this is real. You know, when you take it to that time as a construct, we're all made of atoms and energy that's going to just dissipate regardless. You know, I don't want to go that far, but some people's mindsets are in that space.
Yeah.
So that being just that to you and me is enough for them.
Ooh, Jesus. And see, and that leads to another good question, is like, what is one hard truth that people just don't want to accept about themselves?
That they suck. That they suck. For not all people, but a lot of people, I mean, that we all are flawed.
Yeah.
And recognizing that it takes work to grow. And then we go through these situations that sometimes can be traumatic or life altering, and they're placed on our laps, and then from that point we just hold them and baby them and just, you know, coddle them instead of trying to work through them, instead of trying to fight and and be something else beside this person with this thing that's constantly being held. And for so long, many of us just get stuck in a place. We just get stuck in a place.
That's what it takes, though, to okay.
To get somewhere.
Yeah, you have to have tough combos. You have to have thought-provoking conversations so that you can grow. You know what I'm saying? And I think people are lazy. Not everybody. I think people are lazy when it comes to growth. It's easier to stay stagnant, you know? It's easier to let somebody else handle that. Because in my personal experience, I'm a person that, like, I want to grow. And so I've tried to help people grow, but can't help someone that doesn't want to be helped.
That's absolutely true.
That's so hard and frustrating for me. Oh, it's so hard and frustrating.
We call that the resisting client. Resisting client.
How do you deal with, speaking of resistant clients, how do you deal with trying to get that client to break down so they can see that potential and see that growth that they could achieve if they were to get out of their own way?
Number one, patience.
Okay.
And recognizing that they didn't get like that overnight.
Yeah.
So they may not be able to see it in the time span that I think that they should be able to see it, or their family that suggests that they should go to counseling should be able to see it. That person might be in such a space where their defense mechanisms have been up for so long, experiencing that flight, fight, or freeze response, where now it's taking them a lot longer to get into a space where they feel safe and they feel like they can do the work necessary. There's no danger in their environment. They don't feel that way. And then even at that point, that's just one layer of the onion. Now we have to break down the next layer of defense mechanism that has been there to protect your emotions, protect this side of you that's a little bit more sensitive, your insecurity. And there's so many different layers to it. So it takes time. And for the most part, people put time constraints on everything. And the moment you put a time constraint on something of what should be done, so we're constantly shitting on ourselves. And now we're guilting ourselves, and now we're shaming ourselves, and now we're putting ourselves in this perpetual cycle, not going anywhere, not helping anyone.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that patience and understanding that everyone's process is different. Sometimes it's me backing up. Sometimes it's me just putting it out on the table. Here it is, straight facts. Showing them that, redefining that what confrontation is, because many people experience the idea of confrontation being negative.
Yeah.
But I'm more of a confrontational counselor, I guess. I've heard that term thrown around. I don't necessarily go with it because I believe there's a difference. I believe there's a lot of different ways people counsel.
Yeah.
And of course, it's going to be different for different clients. But when you get into that and you're able to redefine, now you're able to look at things from different perspectives, then you have an objective person that's in your corner with I have no intention. I have no motive. I'm literally here for the sake of you, because it's not like I'm getting paid $1 billion. I'm here because I want to be here.
Yeah.
And I want to be with you. So however long it takes, it's just however long it takes. It just be a long-term model.
Do you ever run out of patience?
I have.
You have?
Mm-hmm. I definitely run out of patience. That's a part of the side of your counselor where you have to check. You have to check what you're projecting.
Yeah.
Check what you're transferring. You have to check all that. But absolutely, that's the moment where I have to take a step back. That's the moment where I might have to transfer a client or let the client know where I am and how I assess myself in these situations, because that's something that I definitely do, and I think most counselors do, is once they've been in a situation with a client, they realize that they've experienced something or they just getting tired of them and are annoyed with them, they'll begin to figure out ways to maneuver the situation around. And that's just continuity of care.
Yeah.
Making sure that the client is put first, not you, because it's not about you. It has to be very client focused, client centered.
So, speaking of like you in those sessions and stuff like that, has hearing, like being in that place where you're hearing people's issues and like working through their problems, has it ever like impeded on your personal growth when you're trying on your road to it?
Absolutely. Some of my grief clients, they'll come in there with some deeper situations, and I've lost a lot of the men in my life, but any of the ones that come in specifically talking about grief of dad, there's always a moment where I have to make sure I'm constantly checking myself, because sometimes if they throw that out there and then just start going in and then they release, it might affect me because I wasn't expecting to hear that.
Yeah.
So absolutely, where I just kind of get stagnant for a moment, or I kind of back off. The other piece of it is when you're in a space where you're receiving so much energy from people, and then you get hit hard 6 hours or 7 hours out of the day hearing people's lowest, darkest moments. That's a lot of weight on you, and sometimes you do get caught in that. So that's positive self-care. That's taking care of my coping skills and not playing around, eating healthy, hydrating. Like that's taking as many of the factors that I know I need and really practicing them, or else I will be stuck, which is the reason why you'll see this huge gap of how long counselors stay in the field. Because burnout be so real. It's so real.
Because they're not taking care of themselves.
Not taking care of themselves, or the caseloads are just too heavy.
Oh, yeah.
People go through
Yeah.
People hold some really good masks. Like, I literally believe that we have the best actors in the world as regular people.
Yeah.
Because the stuff people will walk in there and look, and then whoa, everything just broke loose. And it's like, you're holding it so well. I wonder how many other people we just walk by on a day-to-day basis and don't know that literally their walls are falling down around them. And you just never know.
Ooh. I mean, okay, so this has got another question maybe pop in my head. So, what can we do as individuals when we're interacting with people we may not necessarily know to promote growth in their lives? Because I know me personally, I want to make sure everybody I interact with, they come out positively, or they're reaching something, part of themselves that they hadn't reached before, or something like that. So how can I, as the people we interact with, promote growth?
Cliche, but be your authentic self.
Ooh.
I have learned, there's a lot of answers I could have given, but what I have learned is when you are literally your authentic self, you give permission to other people that have been stuck in the same cycles to be their authentic self and to walk in their truth. And when people can begin to see glimpses of what life could be and what they want their life to be, they're more inclined to take a step. That's not saying that they will, and not saying how long it'll take. It's just now they know it's real. And that in itself can change a life. Because maybe they do nothing about it, but they tell someone else. That right there. Be yourself. Speak your truth. Speak what you know. Speak what you feel. Like, those things absolutely matter.
What are some common mistakes that people make on the path to growth?
You're gonna laugh, but thinking there's a such thing as a mistake.
Oh God! I need you to elaborate on that one.
I'm about to take a lap, y'all.
Thinking that a mistake is just the worst thing in the world, and to think that one thing that you've done can completely just be the death of the rest of your future.
Yeah.
When it's not. That just meant that particular path wasn't the path that you were meant to be on. That's all that meant. But we'll hold that and we'll condemn ourselves for I don't know how long, and then we'll let other people's expectations also condemn us. And then we'll take that as if this mistake was the end all be all of a walk. Now, yes, some very terrible things happen with people making simple mistakes. However, they're necessary. they're necessary. Life cannot be all cookies and bubble gum and flowers and bubbles. It can't. We wouldn't appreciate it. We wouldn't fight for it. We wouldn't work for it.
Can you be my counselor? You laughing.
I told you, y'all. Let me go ahead, brag on.
Go ahead.
Brag
Go ahead.
Miss Danielle. Okay, she is the truth. Okay, she is the Harriet Tubman to leave you out the darkness of every mental health issue.
Okay.
You can get her a problem. She gonna let you know that you already know the solution.
Well.
Cause that's the type of counselor she is.
Well.
You know what I'm saying? She promoting uplifting, growth,
yes,
transparency,
Uh-huh.
authenticity.
Again. Preach.
She giving us all of the truth
Oh.
that you need on the path to greatness. And shout out to you, Danielle. Because you
Thank
always,
you.
every session be the best part of my day for real.
Oh.
I'm serious.
Okay. Y'all always give me, you know, I'm like, any of my clients say, emotions. Don't make me cry.
She the truth, y'all. She the truth.
Oh, go ahead, Devin. I'm trying to.
What's one of like the most asked questions during your session that people can work on before they get to like they get in and start sitting down and trying to work through it?
What's one of the most asked questions that they can do?
They can start doing it home.
Start doing it home.
Especially for our viewers out there at home, don't forget to like and subscribe and turn on the post notifications. But this is an activity that you can do at home to like, to jumpstart, or they can't get to a therapist right now.
Utilize technology. There are so many different platforms that are out there to help people identify things, not just simple Google searches. There are legitimate doctors out there, counselors out there that are easily accessible through like TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, that are having these real life conversations. And then going to their pages or whatever they have, and then looking at what your issue is and how you can jumpstart. That's usually one of the easiest ways, because so many people come in for so many different things. To say one thing like could help, it may not be beneficial for somebody with depression versus somebody with anxiety. So overall, I would say utilize what's a resource right in front of you. Technology. I'm not saying go to Wikipedia now. You know, I'm not saying go to WebMD.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying go follow and ask questions and email and go do those things that are right at our fingertips.
Okay. So I have a question. It says, how do you heal in order to grow?
First step, recognizing that there's something that is messed up, broken, not as it should be, whatever name people want to put on it. Recognizing that there is an issue.
Yeah.
And then purposefully and intentionally going out to find solutions that can help. That's literally what it takes, because a lot of times we're stuck in those places and we can't get ourselves out. And then sometimes we're with people that are also stuck in their own hole. That's the same hole.
Yeah.
And we can't get each other out of that either.
Right.
So that's that next step where you have to begin searching and asking questions, because that's where the healing starts. The fact that you took the first step. After that, healing is going to come with patience. Healing is going to come with understanding again that your trauma or whatever situation put you in this headspace did not happen overnight. And if it did, and it affected you that severely, it's going to take more than a month, a week, a year, 3 years, 10 years sometime. But as long as you're actively working and progressing. My favorite thing that I've heard people say that are addicts is that they've been an addict for 30 years or 15 years, or they're overcoming addiction. You know, you'll hear that, because they know it's an ongoing fight. It's an ongoing process of healing and working with people and trying to navigate those waters so that you don't fall victim or circumstance of what held you down originally. So that's something like, I'm not sure the verbiage there of what they actually say, but I've definitely heard that quite a few times, of people working through addiction and being in constant battle, you know?
And so, what are some of the behind the scenes stuff that we don't necessarily see or we don't necessarily talk about that we need to incorporate into the process?
Acknowledging that you're gonna be down.
Yeah.
And sometimes you being down is you being down for a while. Some people are so afraid to be depressed. And sometimes you have to allow yourself to be in that space. Even if it's allowing yourself to be anxious, allowing yourself to be whatever it is. Sometimes you need that piece in order to process through something. It's not gonna always be easy because you're what you should be doing and could be doing, and the guilt and the shame and the expectations, the pressures, the values, like those things are sitting on you so heavily. And I'm a bookmark that, but they're sitting on you so heavily that you just kind of pretty much fight unnecessarily to be something that you don't have to be. Right now, at this very moment, what you're feeling is the most important thing, and your body's gonna shut you down regardless of what you think, and that's burnout. That is depression. That's falling into those dark spaces. Sometimes you need to be there. Sometimes you have to be. And from there, it's I don't want to say always an upward battle, but there's more for a person to experience when they know what the bottom looks like.
If you know the bottom, you can go up.
Yeah. They know. Instead of fighting it, trying not to be there. So there are moments where I've definitely said that to quite a few of my clients. Hey, be depressed. Like, be sad.
Yeah.
Be whatever emotion is beginning to outwardly manifest so that we can inwardly do some work. So we can ask those questions and come to those truths and then find those small stepping stones to get us to where we need to be, with the understanding that stepping stones could mean a year's worth of work.
Yeah.
That's what that could mean. But it starts somewhere. Sometimes that's at the bottom. Not all the time. But sometimes in that space.
Ooh. Man.
That hit me hard. I ain't gonna even lie to you. Nah, I'm not gonna front, I ain't gonna flex. The reason it hit me hard is because I've experienced a lot of life recently. You know what I'm saying? And I'm new to this. I'm not true to this. All right?
I understand.
To therapy, to depression, to anxiety, to insecurity, to doubt. Yo, I never thought about any of that until I had to experience it. I had to experience within the past year and more recently the past couple months. Man, it's real. It's an uneasy feeling being depressed when you don't know what that is, when you've never encountered that, because you've never put yourself in a position to be depressed, to be anxious, to be whatever, to be emotional. Before I was just this monolithic, one-dimensional dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't cry, don't do this, don't do that, because you are less of a man. Black men don't cry.
Other people's expectations and thoughts.
Right.
Society.
Yeah. And then I just got to this point where it's like, yo, bump that. You know what I'm saying? And I allow myself to be vulnerable, and I allow myself to feel these feels. Danielle, I feel so much better. I feel so much better.
Because it's you allowing yourself to live your own life.
Recognize mistakes that comes with it.
I just always thought depression, oh, no, he depressed? Oh, okay, well.
Depression looks so many different types of ways.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Depression looks so many different types of ways. And the way the media portrays depression compared to what depression can look like. And then we're not going to get into the cultural aspect of what depression looks like. Because we start talking about people of color that never stop working. They go to work, rain, sleet, snow, or hail because they have to. Especially the older generations. You mean to tell me that they weren't depressed? Absolutely
It just
not.
skipped
You
over.
just had to.
You had to do what you had to do. So the idea of nobody was depressed because your idea of what depression looks like this one thing, but it doesn't. Like every other thing in the world, it is multifaceted.
Yeah.
It is multi-faced.
Mm.
It is complex. I love what dysthymia, or for some people, high functioning anxiety. That means you can literally do every single thing that you have to do. You are productive. You achieve goals, but you still feel like how you feel on the inside. Ooh. And that's still a very real thing that people have to recognize, that happiness doesn't look one way. So why would depression?
Okay. Come on, man.
It wouldn't. It doesn't make sense because
It's
no one said it's impossible for any one thing to look one specific way.
For everybody.
For everybody in the world. Like, no. That's one of those things why, like, I think I said it at the beginning, why I have a moment. Like, I love my field, but it's just that piece of it where I know there's so many components they didn't take into consideration when developing certain things.
Yep.
Certain diagnoses. You know, there are certain things that wasn't looked at from various perspectives.
No, hey.
So now we're working to fight through and change some of the narratives, change some of the way things are worded in what is like the counselor Bible, like your DSM. Like what's in there, changing and redefining and helping broaden some of these definitions of things, which hopefully will open more doors to more people that are from different walks of life. They talk about more, they engage with more. That's the only way things are gonna change, for real. And there's so many more people out there that literally have experienced life within this last, I'm gonna say months, but year. Like this last just year.
Mm-hmm.
Life was experienced for a lot of different people. Life. And because of that, now the focus is on mental health, which is absolutely a beautiful thing. But it's also on now you can walk and become your true authentic self, rather than picking one or a path that you didn't want either one of them.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Man.
She was on her high horse.
She was.
Doors of the church are open.
They is open, okay? Y'all go ahead. All congregants are welcome, because we take them all, because we trying to heal in order to grow. I mean, because you hit on just so much. I mean, just so much. It just be like, I just wish I had a pen that I could just write everything down, because just like with the idea of high functioning depression, when I first came to you, I was breaking down over trying to succeed or do more when I was already doing well, and realizing, going through that moment, like going through the process with you helped me realize that it wasn't because I wanted to succeed or I wanted to do more. It was because I wanted to see myself more. I got lost in my own vision, and just getting used to doing the day-to-day, that circadian rhythm that we've developed in society of just waking up and then grind until we can't go to sleep, and then wake up and then do it again in order to like achieve a degree. I got lost. And that's where that depression like kicked in. And
most people do, because it's been so ingrained on us that, especially again, various generations. So I'm gonna hit that generation X coming down. Like the boomers hit it off, but like it has been pressed on us that college is where you're supposed to be. You were supposed to go to school, regardless of what school it is. You were supposed to graduate in 4 years. So that 4, the moment you hear 4, anything coming close to that and you're not close, now you feel guilty immediately. So you have 4 years on your plate, then you're supposed to get a job, a good job that's gonna pay well, that's gonna be in your field, in a location that is acceptable to the people that you're supposed to be supporting. Now you have to also have a family. We're talking about conditional, traditional, conservative families that we're supposed to be able to have. With the big house, the dog, the white picket fence.
2.5 kids.
Yeah, 2.5 kids. That's the 5 is the golden retriever. That's the golden retriever. That is what we were supposed to have, and then we're supposed to work this job for 30 years, 40 years, and then retire and then live our best lives.
Go enjoy ourselves.
And that is what has been literally indoctrinated on us as what is supposed to happen. But when you get to those stages in life where people before us are not experiencing the same devaluation of money. They're not experiencing these ups and downs with technology and just the world in general. How people accept certain majors and amounts of money that they're paying versus other entities. It changes. It changes. So yes, we're gonna be more depressed when we recognize that it took $100,000 to go to school to live a dream that may not have been mine.
Woo. Woo. How?
Not saying that it's everybody, because like I wanted to go to school, but again, here we go. The idea that I have to do all these things, but I'm looking at past generations that didn't have to go through any of that.
Yeah.
Didn't have to experience any of it. So yes, like the expectation of what's lavish and nice and all these different things is going to sit on a person, because now we know what a lavish lifestyle looks like because it's on media. It's right at the tip of our fingers. We see it. The idea that you're doing good enough, even though enough isn't even a goal, enough isn't even tangible. It's not even realistic. No one can ever define enough. So when you like, I'm not doing enough, I'm not hustling enough, I'm not in my bag enough, I'm not none of that enough, because enough is not real. So now you're still constantly in that cycle. So yes, falling into a space of depression or anxiety or any other, and those are just the two I mentioned, but there's, tons of other situations, disorders that we experience, but really, we won't. People won't talk about it. People don't know. It's becoming more open and conversational.
Yeah.
But as in the resources being available, making sure that the counselor is taken care of too. Money, insurance companies are now dabbling in it. You know, they recognize certain disorders and other disorders they don't recognize. Like adjustment disorder. That's one that even though you may be adjusting to this situation and experiencing anxiety and depression, like comorbidly, these three things together will not be pretty much accepted by certain insurance companies. So counselors are essentially forced to find another diagnosis or multiple diagnoses to compensate for that one. So yeah, it's so convoluted. So messy. So didn't mean to like verbal vomit on y'all.
Oh no, we wanted that because it brought up another question, because it brought me back to a question you had asked me in a session one day. And yeah, right. Yes, exactly.
Don't tell me what question that was.
And it was like, because you had asked me if you weren't setting any limitations on yourself, Devin, what do you want?
Absolutely.
And I just feel like people aren't asking themselves that question enough. And I feel like one of the best ways to get people that are going to ask that question and actually like pour into you to develop is through mental health, because you're on this third party coming in letting us know where it's like, okay, I see what you're doing, but these are the traits that you're given. And so I just, man,
you wouldn't know how to ask yourself that question because we're never given permission to ask ourselves. We're not taught to ask ourselves. Actually, if anything, the moment you say, I'm talking to myself, I'm thinking about it, you're deemed crazy.
Yeah.
Like immediately. And then that boggles my head because
That's
it
a word
does.
right there.
It does. Because why wouldn't you want to ask yourself those questions? What's limiting you to ask that question? Did you answer it?
I did.
Oh, okay.
I gave you it was a long pause for a second. It was like,
Devin, there's another question, just to comment on what you just said. There's another question that I have recently started asking myself that I think maybe, you guys might want to start asking, and that's how do you want to live? People always ask us, what do you want to do when you grow up? Nobody ever asks us, how do you want to live?
woo!
You know what I'm saying?
I'm about to take a lot with that one.
Yeah.
Nobody ever
How you
says,
living?
how do you want to live? Because I believe if you ask someone, how do they want to live, and you allow them to be creative with that,
Absolutely.
they taking off.
Absolutely.
But when you say, what do you want to do? It's like, be a fireman.
Yeah.
No disrespect to these professions,
No,
but
but
it's like,
just, That's the same way to add a little further. What are you gonna do with your 5 years?
Yeah.
Your 7 years?
Yeah.
Your 3? I don't know what's gonna happen next month. Do you see what type of years we've been living? Like,
Okay, right.
I don't know.
This is what we thing right now.
Absolutely. Like, we don't ask that question of how we want to live, what we want our life to look like.
Yeah.
We don't. Again, we wouldn't know to.
Correct.
We wouldn't know to. When have you ever even heard somebody mention that at all? How do you want to live? Now, we'll say things that we want in life, and a lot of times that's material things or what's been told to us from society, like you want to get married. So again, that's been pretty much indoctrinated into you for a very long time.
Yep.
But as in how you want to feel, what you want to experience, what are some of the ups and downs of life that you want to go through? No. You don't start to tap into that until you really get outside of school. I hate to say it, I'm gonna say outside of high school, because it begins to be challenged when you're in college, and then something happens that last year where you're like, yo.
So Danielle, how do you define growth?
I define growth, and I struggle with this question because growth can, again, look so many different ways. I kind of can tell you what society says growth is. It's this picturesque idea of whatever the goal is achieved in this particular boxed in way.
Yeah.
So that's what growth is.
Okay.
So success looks a certain type of way. We wouldn't think an entrepreneur of gas stations around Huntsville is successful, but he owns 15 gas stations around Huntsville.
Yeah.
But that's not what we perceive as successful. So when you start to flip that over to what is growth, then you begin to recognize, okay, where's the source coming from? Who is identifying what growth is, number one. And then from that point, where do you want to go? What do you see? What do you hear? What are the things that's negatively affecting you? What's burning your inside? What did somebody point out one day that was an issue? Growth can be you learning that you like something. Growth can be you learning and accepting that you don't like something.
Okay.
Growth doesn't have to be these huge monolithic things. Sometimes growth can be the tiniest aspect of your life that has now changed, whether it be positive or sometimes negative. That doesn't necessarily mean that growth doesn't happen from negativity, as you said earlier.
Yeah.
Growth can happen from anything, from anywhere, from experiencing any person. That's kind of how I define growth. But again, it can look so many different ways. It can look so many different ways.
Nothing's black and white.
No.
It's all gray.
Gray.
It's all gray.
Gray.
It's all gray. If this is one thing I learned from my, dang, how long have I been seeing? 4 years? Oh wow, 4 years. 4 years of seeing this woman right here. Is that growth health, mental health is all gray.
It is.
It's
absolutely. All gray. All gray. If you ever tried to put anything on growth, you would be very sad, very upset with yourself.
Because everybody's different.
Everybody's different. So again, that be patient. Like, I know I said that a couple times throughout this whole thing, but like, that is literally the key. Being patient with the process. Growth happens the way that it's going to happen, in the ways that it is going to happen.
Alrighty, so to wrap it all up, what are some resources you suggest our viewers check out so they can make sure they're putting growth, if they want to put growth at the forefront of their lives, of their lifestyle, that can help them get to that point?
What are some resources? Okay. Looking into counseling, understanding that there are different types of counseling, and that talk therapy is not the only type of therapy that's out there. I don't want to dig too deep, but just know, again, music therapy, art therapy, equestrian therapy. There's just so many different types of ways of healing and working through different situations. Another resource would be a lot of the mental health podcasts that are out. I don't necessarily want to target any particular audience, but just know that with a simple Google search, there are very targeted, very specific as well podcasts that are out through counselors that are readily available to talk about any subject that a lot of times people would consider taboo. Recognizing the importance of a support system and understanding that one person cannot be a support system. It takes literally 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people to hold down various roles to support any multifaceted person. So it can't be just your mom, just your cousin, just your best friend. It can't be, because you're a multifaceted being that is experiencing a multifaceted life. So you need different people to help you in different spaces. Coping skills. Those are, again, simple Google searches. We all have some negative coping skills. We all have positive coping skills, or we can develop them. I know for me, I always tell clients to have at least 5. And that's so you can put them in rotation. You don't wear the same socks every day. You don't wear the same undies every day. Now, if you do, okay, that is your prerogative, your perspective, or your situation. But for a majority and a lot of people, things are in rotation. So the same thing would work for coping skills. Say I like to journal, I love music, I love nature. It may be too cold outside for me to go outside, and I don't want to be in that nature. I don't want to be in nature that day, but I know that particular day I'm in the urge to write something, or I'm in the urge to listen to some music to kind of calm me down. Those things matter. Another thing that a lot of people don't think about is the importance of vitamin D. The importance of
Thank you, Mr. Sun.
Thank you, Mr. Sun. Your diet, the things that you eat, recognizing that what's been stated in the media of having to sleep 8 hours is what the body needs. Having to eat 3 meals a day or 6 small meals a day or whatever is out there is not necessarily the case. And reaching out to other resources that are MDs and that are dermatologists and that are dietitians and nutritionists, and it's just so many different resources that are out there to help assess and work through mental health that a lot of people don't think about. They don't think about. So that's, for me, the importance of recognizing, as a counselor, I have a counselor. I also have a chiropractor that I go to, because I know with some of my nightmares, I have some moments where I sleep terribly and I need something to help me in that way to alleviate stress and pain, because I do know stress and pain can also cause higher levels of anxiety, depression. Because I feel miserable, so sometimes in negative correlations, if I feel miserable, I must be miserable. That's not how that works, but sometimes our minds will take us there. So again, I have an acupuncturist. I take advantage of all these different aspects of health as a whole and make them work for my mental health. I make them work. Woo!
Gotta take them pieces.
Even out
absolutely.
Game.
Right.
Absolutely.
Putting them on.
I want to tap this in because this is another side that two small things.
Go off, queen.
Meds, a lot of people are very apprehensive about, and a lot of people don't talk about them. But they are important for what they are important for.
Okay.
And I want to leave that there.
Okay.
Everybody will have their opinion, but they are important for what they are important for. Okay. And if they help, if they're not harmful in that person's own bubble, not what I objectively see from the outside and me placing what I see. If it works to help them live a sustainable life that they enjoy in life, then it works. Same thing with holistic and herbal things.
Yeah.
Some people are not for it. They don't agree with it. But again, it does what it's supposed to do, the way that it's supposed to do it for that particular person living that particular life.
Right there. That's all we need to know, y'all. That's all. All right, y'all. If y'all enjoyed this video, please make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on the post notifications. If y'all enjoy the wonderful Danielle, please let us know down below in the comments section. We may have to try to bring her back for a part 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Because I feel like she got some stuff that the world needs to hear.
She do.
But y'all, thank y'all again for tuning in for the best part of your day with Devin and Taye featuring Danielle. Y'all have a good one. We's out.
Hey, Taye.
D-Town, what's up?
Best part of your day with Devin and Taye. It's the best part of your day. Best part of your day. Let's get it out. Best part of your